Well, we learned today from Barack Obama that climate change is racist, particularly against blacks and Latinos. It's the equivalent, if you will, of the Confederate flag. Now, what Obama didn't say in his Castro-like diatribe is that you can expect your energy bills in 43 states to double. The reason why people say it'll affect minorities the most is because it'll affect particularly poor urban areas the most and poor rural areas the most. The estimate is that these regulations will cost the American people over $360 billion. $360 billion. 40% of worldwide energy is produced from coal. The left hates coal because coal is the source in many respects of electricity. If they can control electricity, they can control you. Even more, they want to control the private sector. Obama's making a mad dash towards Marxism. That's what he's doing. Now, what did he say about African Americans? Cut 5, go.
Today, an African-American child is more than twice as likely to be hospitalized from asthma.
Now, that's precious. Under Obama, an African-American child is 3 times less likely to actually become an African-American child, given his support of the most radical abortion machine in America, Planned Parenthood. You know how liberals like to put it, well, you oppose abortion, but will you take care of babies once they're born? No, we're going to throw them over the cliff. But my question to you liberals, you claim to be concerned about children after they're born, right? But in this case, first they have to be born in order for you to care about them. More Obama. I'm going to address him more thoroughly in a moment. But more Obama today. What cut am I on? 7, go.
Right now, our power plants are the source of about a third of America's carbon pollution.
I want to stop here. There's no such thing as carbon pollution. This is what the Marxist Olinskyites do. That's like calling condensation a pollution. Greenhouse gases are not pollution. Greenhouse gases create what we call the atmosphere. Now, if we didn't have greenhouse gases, we wouldn't have an atmosphere. What would we be? Dead. Dead as a doorknob. Now, why would we be dead? Because the atmosphere protects us. It protects us from heat. It protects us from cold. If we didn't have an atmosphere and there wasn't carbon dioxide, you know what we would be? Mars. Mars. So what is all this idiocy being spewed by a president who's never done a damn thing with his life other than disorganized communities? And all the liberals shake their heads up and down. Yes, yeah, clean climate, yeah, climate change, yeah. Go ahead.
That's more pollution than our cars, our airplanes, and our homes generate combined.
Yes.
That pollution contributes.
It's not pollution. Stop lying. It's not pollution. Go.
Climate change, which degrades the air our kids breathe.
Carbon dioxide makes air to breathe. It's called oxygen. You flunk a 3rd grade science course, Obama. You flunk. Which, of course, makes him qualified for President of the United States under the Democrat Party. Go ahead.
Never been federal limits on the amount of carbon that power plants can dump into the air.
Right, because only a moron would do that. And what do you mean dump into the air? What are you dumping? See, he wants you to think of smokestacks with all the billowing smoke coming out. That's not it. Go ahead.
How about that? We limit the amount of toxic chemicals like mercury.
All right, stop. I'm sorry, folks. Carbon dioxide's not a toxic chemical. Plants don't use mercury to create oxygen. They would die from mercury. We would die from mercury. So we focus on mercury. Carbon dioxide's not arsenic. So no, we don't want arsenic in our body. Carbon dioxide's not arsenic. It's not mercury. It's not carbon monoxide. What's wrong with this guy? Think about water. Think about condensation. As I've told you before, the biggest element in greenhouse gases is condensation. One of the smallest elements in greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide. I've made the analogy before. It's in Liberty and Tyranny. Think of a stadium with 10,000 seats. Think of that stadium as the atmosphere. 10,000 seats. 4 seats are for carbon dioxide. 4. Now, even if we could control carbon dioxide, do you think that's going to make a difference on the climate? Go ahead.
Sulfur and arsenic in our air.
Shut up. I can't take it anymore. I really can't. Now, let me tell you what's going on here. This is an all-out assault. This is a war on your lifestyle. This is a war on energy production. This is a war on middle America, just as the nationalizing of the suburbs through HUD. This is a multifaceted war being unleashed by our Marxist president against what was a relatively free country with a relatively free economy. Now everything's going to be managed by the left in the bureaucracy, because no matter who's elected, they never leave. They're going to control your health care. They do. They're going to control your property with their new water regulations. They're going to control businesses through this. And they're going to control your communities through the racism being spewed out of HUD. I told you before, and I need to emphasize this. This is an international degrowth movement. They call it a degrowth movement. I didn't invent that phrase. That's what they call themselves. And the target is the industrialized West, particularly the developed United States. We are the primary target. And I dug into this very, very deeply, and it's in my new book, Plunder and Deceit, and I've explained it to you. Their agenda. Let me quote to you what their agenda is. Now that you've heard Obama spew forth and burp up this stuff, I want you to listen to this. This is from them. Sustainable degrowth is a downscaling of production and consumption that increases human well-being and enhances ecological conditions and equity on the planet. It calls for a future where societies live within their ecological means, with open, localized economies and resources more equally distributed through new forms of democratic institutions. It is an essential economic strategy to pursue in overdeveloped countries. Overdeveloped countries. We are an overdeveloped country, like the United States, for the well-being of the planet, of underdeveloped populations, and yes, even of the sick, stressed, overweight consumer populations of overdeveloped countries. So we are an overdeveloped country, and the degrowth movement, through the Environmental Protection Agency, under this lawless imperial president, is advancing the degrowth cause, which means to make you poorer. You didn't hear a single fact of science from Obama. Not one. You heard platitudes. You heard him throw around toxics and pollution and arsenic and stuff like that. You didn't hear a single fact from this man. Degrowth has quickly developed into a pseudo-religion and public policy obsession. In fact, the degrowthers insist their ideology reaches far beyond the environment, or even its odium for capitalism, and it's an all-encompassing lifestyle and governing philosophy. Here's what else they say, quote, degrowth is not just an economic concept. We shall show that it is a frame constituted by a large array of concerns and goals and strategies and actions. As a result, degrowth has now become a confluence point where streams of critical ideas and political action converge. Degrowth is an interpretive frame for a social movement, understood as the mechanism through which actors engage in a collective action. These are Marxists. This isn't a green movement, as I've told you. It's a red movement. So they seek to eliminate carbon sources of energy and redistribute wealth according to the terms they consider equitable. They reject traditional economic reality that acknowledges growth as improving living conditions generally, but especially for the impoverished. They embrace what they call notions of less competition, less large-scale redistribution, sharing and reduction of excessive incomes and wealth, quote, unquote. The degrowthers want to engage in policies that will set a maximum income or maximum wealth to weaken envy as a motor of consumerism. What I'm saying is, as massive as this power grab is from the individual, it's only the beginning. You see, ladies and gentlemen, if you consume too much, if you acquire too much material wealth, they are one day going to say that you're a net polluter, that in order to limit carbon dioxide, energy, electricity, we have to limit the way individuals live. People should only have so many cars and certain types of cars. They should be limited on how much they can drive and where they can drive. They should be limited on how much gasoline they can purchase and where they can purchase it. They should be limited on how big their house is and where they live. They need to use public transportation. They're going to be limited on what kind of appliances they have in their house. This is not a slippery slope. This is the end. This is Marxism, full bore, which they're pushing through the environmental movement. They stole the nomenclature, and they're advancing their cause. And this is why Obama talks about global warming, or rather climate change, as if it's a fact. Because climate change is the camouflage. If you contribute more to carbon pollution, if you drive too much, if you drive too big of a vehicle, if you have too many children, because they contribute to carbon pollution, too many airlines, too many planes, too many vacations, too many boats, they contribute to carbon pollution. Do you get where this is going?